Hello there, and welcome to episode 5 of the How Uncivilized Podcast. Put on your fogged up glasses and ignore all of those red flags, as this week we get awfully ambiguous. I'm of course referring to the goodie / baddie, who knows either way at this point, called Saw Gerrera. Hero or villain, human or robot, badass or asthmatic. Sit back, embrace a grey morality, and enjoy.
Hello there.
Hello.
And welcome to another episode of our Rogue One infused How Uncivilized podcast.
Series 2 of the Rogue One variety.
Don't forget, this is indeed Series 2. Remember to look at Series 1 for more interesting tidbits in the Star Wars universe.
Yes. From benign things to the most interesting things. From actual lore to made-up lore that never came about.
Indeed. Maybe we made it up. Maybe we didn't. Who are you to question?
The point is, someone did somewhere.
Exactly, and we've just got to rely on them.
Yeah.
But it is so good to be back and recording another episode. And this week we are looking at the man himself, Saw Gerrera.
Gonna be a lot of bad Forrest Whitaker impressions in this episode. I can feel it already.
You've come to kill me.
There isn't much of me left.
Board gullet will know.
We'll get into this more later, but for ages I thought it was Poor Gullet, so P-O-R Gullet.
I thought it was portcullet.
Really?
You know, like on a ship. String him up on the portcullet.
The whole point is we have absolutely no idea what he's saying.
Honestly, like the first few times I watched it, I thought Saw Gerrera was some kind of space pirate.
Yeah.
That had been like sort of grounded because he's so like fucked.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he is a space pirate, you know? Let's find out. Let's get on with it.
Into the history of such a broken man pieced together with only his progressive views.
Absolutely. Progressive, not at all terroristic views.
Progressive, aggressive, regressive.
I mean...
They're all just perfect words to summarize this man's life.
I mean, the entire left are just terrorists anyway, so it's just an accurate depiction of, you know...
Yeah, so I hear.
Yeah.
Boo Antifa, boo. So...
I mean, I'm left-wing, and I definitely call myself a terrorist, so there we have it.
Exactly. I always find if you use the word, it suddenly loses its power, its meaning, you know. If we start calling ourselves terrorists, then maybe that aspect of the word will just disappear.
Yeah, you know, if you just own it, then people will forget about it.
Own it for good.
Absolutely. So,
own it, don't bone it. Am I right?
Nice.
but don't bone it.
Is that the new motto for the series? Own it, don't bone it.
Yeah, and I'd really appreciate it if you named the episode this.
I mean, I've got no other ideas so far.
Oh dear.
That is happening.
I don't even know if we have enough listeners to get complaints, but maybe we will. Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe the complaints will inspire listeners. Like, you got to get people to pick a side. Like, because if people hate us, there might be some people who support us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In theory, there should be. Everything's so polarized right now. Surely there must be people who support our weird and wonderful views.
Yeah, all publicity is good publicity, and that's a fact.
Do you know, I do wonder if there's actually like a regulating body for podcasts, because obviously there's Ofcom. Do you reckon there's off-pod?
Podcom.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we've spouted a lot of crap, and so far no one's called us up on it. So who knows?
Exactly. Who's to be the wiser?
You know, let's just keep pushing the barrier, pushing the bar of what's allowed, and we'll see what happens.
Exactly. We consider ourselves progressives here at How Uncivilized, and we are willing to push the boat out wherever it doth take us, whether stormy seas or even a quaint, beautiful island off the coast of Antigua. Indeed, it could be us. It could be us.
It could be me. It could be you. It could be you, the listener who is listening to this podcast.
Indeed. Well, yes, again, just to reiterate, if you have any issues with our podcast, please go to OffPod.
Yes.
Don't worry, that is not a weird sort of farm for gone off produce.
That's the point. Note to self, buy the domain Podcom.
If we buy the domain and own it, it's really like, Podcom has found no issues with the recent How Uncivilized podcast. You're very kind to write in, but nothing's going to happen, I'm afraid.
Let's see if that Twitter account is still available. And
we should be so lucky. But yes, welcome to the next episode. Sorry for mumbling on a load of mumbo crap.
I mean, would it really be an episode if we didn't spend 5-10 minutes at the start just not talking about the topic in hand at all?
Well, I feel like it's just easing people in, you know, we're just slowly getting them relaxed, chilling them out, talking to them about really stressful issues.
Yeah, letting them know that this is a safe space where people can, frankly, do whatever they want. I don't care.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in, all those chilled out podcast listeners.
Yeah, thanks.
We're glad to be here for you and in these stressful and lonely times.
Yes, we hope we provide you with some level of comfort and at least an hour or two's escapism from whatever's going on in your life so far.
Exactly. We hope we can take you away into the weird and wonderful world of Star Wars lore.
Yeah. I mean, if you're having a good time out there, what are you doing listening to this? Get back to it. Get back out there. You know, we're for the people who really want to escape from what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at the pub listening to this, like, what are you doing? Although actually saying that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
I feel like the next episode, Charlie, we should record in a pub.
Absolutely. That feels like a brilliant idea. I can't imagine what could go wrong.
No, nothing's going to go wrong. And I feel like that ambience that a pub brings, you know, of people chatting, glasses smashing, people twatting around, then honestly, we could really get some sort of beautiful kind of feel to it, you know, like you know, those podcasts where people are actually like walking around and you can hear the outdoors and it could be kind of therapeutic in that regard.
Yeah, and we can also pretend that we actually have friends outside of this podcast, you know? It's not just the two of us, there are other people.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, from 30 seconds thinking about it, I can see no problems with this idea whatsoever.
Exactly, winner. Okay, I'll have a look at the pubs near us.
Well, near me or near you, there's quite a gap in between.
Oh, when I say near us, I mean like right in the middle, you know, we should meet up. We should meet up at a distance, you know?
Just go for a cheeky pint in, where would it be? Birmingham somewhere?
Yeah, Birmingham's about halfway. Although I feel like York's more to like the east of the country, and I feel like we could meet somewhere maybe like
Cambridge. Or is that a bit too far?
It might be too far for you. I don't know.
I don't know. It depends on train connections, really, because it's not necessarily distance; it's the time. I feel like, which is what makes it fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, a good amount of time. You know, time is money.
Time is money.
Money is not around at the moment, so
not for me anyway. I mean, some people have it, some people don't have it. I am somewhere towards the don't have it category.
The world.
It's with that we announce our Patreon campaign.
Please sign up and donate now for cool little tidbits like us talking before the actual podcast starts.
And me having food afterwards.
Yes, do you like ASMR? Well, you can listen to Charlie's cereal crunches now.
Seriously, all I have in the cupboards is cereal.
Nothing like those Asda wheat biscuits, am I right, Charlie?
No, nothing like those Asda wheat biscuits, except for my favourite Rogue One character, Saw Gerrera.
And what a way to pull it round. God, I thought we were going to crash and burn and end up somewhere in the Isles of Asda. But no, we have magically turned it around with Charlie's firm hand at the tiller.
I turned it and landed us back into a galaxy far, far away a long, long time ago.
Well, brilliant. Here we are. So this is all about Saw Gerrera. Now, as you may or may not have known, we wrote questions for each other after watching Rogue One, and we've split them into characters, locations, stuff like that. And these next few episodes are going to be on Saw Gerrera. So, without further ado, Charlie, do you want to kick it off? Charlie's going to go first on some of my questions that I wrote for him. So take it away, old boy.
Your very first question is a pretty simple one, but with an interesting answer because it requires a lot of delving deep into backstory. But it's simply, why is Saw Gerrera a robot? And how old is he? Two simple questions, why is a man a robot? How old is that man? But in order to answer that, we're going to have to delve into the backstory of Rogue One's mystery half-mechanical man. So, do you know when the character of Saw Gerrera first appeared? I mean, I'm guessing you do know because you have also researched it, but the people at home might not know that he is actually a character who appeared prior to Rogue One.
Yes.
Yes, he actually appeared in... Very nice. Ooh, that ASMR. Ooh, very nice. Yeah.
Did you like that?
I did, very much so. But he actually appeared in Series 5 of The Clone Wars, which came out all the way back in 2012. So that's 4 years before Forrest Whitaker would portray him on screen for us to see in Rogue One.
Very true, he certainly did.
Yeah, and the thing about Saw Gerrera is we don't know exactly when he was born or anything. This is his first appearance. We don't get, a full backstory before this point. But in these episodes, it seems that he's about in his early 20s kind of age, or at least that's how he looks.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I gathered from it. It seemed he was he was in his younger years at this point. More up and coming than down and going. Yeah.
So these episodes which he starred in, those took place approximately in the year 21 BBY, which is about a year after the Clone Wars started. And using that maths of, 21 BBY to the year 0 BBY when Rogue One took place, we can probably place him in his mid-40s approximately. But there's this whole thing of when Forrest Whitaker was cast, because Forrest Whitaker was in his 50s at the time when he played the character, people suddenly looked back to those episodes and thought, is he actually meant to be older in those episodes than he actually appeared to be? Is the character maybe in his 50s? But I think what people decide and what I stand by with is that maybe he's late 40s in Rogue One, but he's had a pretty rough life, so he has.
He was half machine, so it doesn't surprise me that he looks so old. I mean, have you seen the before and after photos for Obama?
I mean, that was just 8 years. I mean, a man can go through a lot. And
he aged dramatically in that time. I think they did studies and worked out that, the average person would have had the exterior aging of about 10 years, but he had something like 15 or 20 or something. It was almost... almost doubled for that. So.
It's almost as if being president of the free world is a difficult job.
Well, I imagine it has its kinks, or you could just
perks,
slap on some orange cream, strap on a wig, and... just dance around like a tit and do it half-heartedly. Yeah,
that's the benefit of looking like the spawn of a Satsuma, is that no one can accurately tell how old you are. So therefore, if you're aging terribly, no one's going to know.
Whoa. I just want to say that is really offensive. That is very offensive.
We're pushing the boundaries here, Spencer.
I feel like you are offending our favorite tangerine.
Maybe your favorite tangerine, but I know of no tangerine who I respect.
No, I mean, oh shit, what's her name? I've completely forgotten.
I know who you mean, but I'm not going to help you because I've got it in for her too.
Yeah, she's pretty bad as well. Well, whatever her name is, I can't quite remember. I don't know why.
Maz Kanata.
Oh yeah, Maz Kanata. God, gets it on my head. Yeah, well, maybe we should have another little deep dive episode. Maz Kanata, worse or better than Donald Trump.
It's an equal playing field, I just wish I could forget about her like the filmmakers of the Star Wars trilogy did.
Yeah. Like most of the characters they introduced, they ended up just falling back on other ones, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yes.
I don't know why I'm being so mean about Maz Kanata. I thought she was fine.
I mean, she did a job. She was just, written out.
Yeah, she was just there. I think I'm just in a mood. I'm out to get people. I'm on edge. I'm poised to attack.
Get out of Charlie's way. He's powering down the street with not a care in the world. It's going to crush you.
Absolutely. So that there clearly answers the second half of your question.
Yes.
Of how old is he? He's mid-40s in Rogue One. Mid to late 40s, we can say. We're not exactly sure because we don't know when he was born. But judging from the fact that he's humanoid and how old he was during the Clone Wars, mid to late 40s, we can say with a reasonable amount of accuracy.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So as for the next question of why is Saw Gerrera a robot, it kind of all ties into his use and the fact that when he was involved in the Clone Wars going he was involved in a lot of guerrilla warfare against the separatists. I don't know if you're going to talk about this a bit more later on, but essentially during the Clone Wars, he was on his home planet of Onderon, and in this planet, the actual king of the planet, Ramses Dennup, he was replaced with a puppet leader who was sympathetic to the separatists' cause, compared with Dennup, who was actually kind of neutral in the war up to that point, which I kind of love the irony of that they replaced a neutral leader with someone who was sympathetic to them, but the immediate result was that the neutral leader was suddenly like, well, screw you guys, I'm going over to the Republic now.
Yeah, exactly. Why make that kind of trouble for yourself?
Yeah. So Saw, along with his sister Stila Gerrera, they fought with a resistance group on the planet, and they're actually labeled terrorists by the OG
the
king.
Puppet Master.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into one of your later questions of why is he a terrorist, or a question I asked you. So
I'll be coming back onto that one. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I keep jumping on your turf. I'm not sorry. I'm just gonna keep doing it. So that's why I'm
back off.
Yeah. So he fought in this guerrilla-style campaign. And that actually links with the actual origins of the character's name. Because if you think about who do we associate with this kind of guerrilla warfare against the government, who do you associate with that kind of thing, Spencer? Unless you know who he's based off.
I don't think I know who he's based off. No.
So if you think of his name, Saw Gerrera, it's not overly similar, but kind of similar to the guerrilla fighter Che Guevara.
Oh,
yeah,
Che Guevara, very good.
Yeah, so a little behind-the-scenes factoid there.
I like
and also,
factoids.
Another interesting thing about his character was that he was actually semi-created by George Lucas. He's just a character that George Lucas never got round to actually using.
Oh, one in the back catalogue, was it?
Yeah.
I like
and he ended up only being used in the Clone Wars later on.
Brilliant. That is a cool little tidbit there. I like that.
Yeah, so during his time as a guerrilla fighter, in this time in Onderon, he had a pretty rough time. At one point, he was captured by the separatists and tortured, which is kind of rough for him. Yeah, And then also during this time, I don't know if you'll talk about this later, but his sister was actually killed in one of the the battles, and that all kind of added to his. They describe it as madness, but it's just really him trying to justify what he's doing. It's like, this is whatever the cost. I need to fight for what I believe is good, and so that is important. I'll get back to that later. And then after the formation of the Galactic Empire, Saw formed a group called the Partisans, which, again, we'll talk about later on, because I believe that was one of my questions for you. Yes. So that seems to be most of what I'm saying at the moment is there's this, but we'll talk about it later. And there's this, and we'll talk about it later.
Well, yeah, we'll see. You know, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, maybe we won't.
Or maybe we will. Who knows? It's all up in the air.
Maybe it's just all me saying we'll talk about stuff in the future, and then we never do.
It's like Nari McVie all over again, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll talk about it in 3 episodes' time.
We'll get back to you guys.
So then, during the time of the Galactic Empire and his work with the Partisans, he ends up saving Jin's family. Again, surprise, surprise, we'll talk about that more later. And yeah, so we jump to a point approximately around 1 BBY. And this is when Saw actually had his accident, we're not quite sure what it is, in which he lost apparently his right leg and sustained damage to his lungs, requiring a pressurized armor suit to aid with his breathing. And he also had to take in oxygen through a mask. And I've put a little asterisk next to lost his right leg, because I don't know about you, and I had to look this up, but I always thought he'd lost both legs, not just one.
Yeah, I thought he lost both legs, because you could see he was like metallic on both sides.
Yeah.
When he's walking across to, was it Bodhi Rook?
Yeah, I think so. But then I kind of wasn't sure, but then I looked up a behind-the-scenes photo of him. Yeah. And he's lost his right foot, but his left foot, he still seems to have a foot just kind of in like almost like a metal sandal type thing. So
okay.
Maybe he has lost both his legs, maybe he hasn't. I'm not entirely sure.
Who's to know? You know, at least we can say he is pretty much more machine than man at this point.
Yeah, and that kind of links in with my next point, is that the idea of him having this breathing apparatus and this oxygen mask, this is significant because it eerily parallels Darth Vader's breathing mask. It even happens in the film where they use the same sound effect for Saw Gerrera's breathing mask as they do for Darth Vader's. It's to kind of bring these two characters together in your mind. It links together the lengths people will go to achieve their goals and what they believe is right. When we think of what Anakin Skywalker did in order to save his loved ones, it really kind of parallels Saw Gerrera's idea that I'm going to defeat the Empire at whatever cost necessary. And that's why I mentioned earlier about, you know, him being tortured by the Separatists, about him losing his sister. It all ties back into this idea that he is obsessed with fighting for what he believes is right and literally doing it at any cost. Like he's willing to do absolutely anything to achieve what he believes is right.
Yeah, it's quite radical, isn't it? He would sacrifice his own leg. He'd probably have sacrificed Jin if it meant that he could further the goals of what he'd see as the sort of the resistance in his mind. Yeah. Which is mental, really.
Yeah, so in a sense of why is he a robot man? It's because he was in an accident. That's the simple answer. But the kind of bigger answer to it is that it's to show the cost of war, really. Yeah. And the lengths people will go to achieve their goal. And it almost makes us question as an audience, like, is it worth it? Like, is this life that he leads worth the sacrifices he makes for the rebellion? I mean, obviously, yes. But, you know, it was good to pose the question for about 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, it's a good question to pose. I mean, we can chew on it for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's have a thought.
So in answer to your 2 questions, he's a 46-year-old robot man, and we're not sure how he got into that state.
Well, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm glad we answered all the hard-hitting questions there.
Yeah.
Really, cleared a lot up there,
How old is he? We're not sure. Why is he a robot? We don't know. Ed, that's the end of the episode. The end. Goodbye.
So yeah, that brings us nicely on to your first question for me, Charlie.
This gets very confusing, doesn't it? Because I've asked a question for you, you asked a question for me.
I know.
So my first question for you, which you're going to answer for me.
Indeed, episode 11, which is episode 2, fifth episode.
What a wacky concept for a podcast.
I know.
Is this a good idea? Probably. Let's keep going. Let's see where it goes.
Who knows? I mean, we'll probably get some views from it. I mean, people gotta like something. I mean, people like complexity. Yeah. Complexity is the spice of life.
I mean, that's why people watch all those Christopher Nolan films, It's because they're hard to understand. No one watches Inception and is like, oh, it's good because it's simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People just love the in-depthness of it.
I'm confused, and that means it's good cinema.
To be fair, I didn't watch it in the cinema. I watched it at a friend's house, and he rather kindly, every time that like something went on, he'd pause it and be like, right, are you getting it? And I'd either go, yeah, I think so, or I'd go, not at all. And he'd explain it because he had already watched it.
Oh, nice.
So I got a more of a better understanding of Inception. I think if I'd watched it at the cinema, I just would have come away just being like,
oh, yeah,
that was really cool, but I don't know why.
I watched it, I think we borrowed a copy from my uncle, and I watched it with my parents. And then I had to watch it again the next day so I could then explain to my parents what it was about. Or at least I didn't get it and then had to rewatch it and was like, oh, I get it now. Yes.
It's just so overly complex. It just doesn't make, I don't know. I mean, yeah, as soon as you understand, if you've done the research, you will enjoy the film. But
yeah, it's like, I remember having fun, but I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I watched it with my sister recently, and up till the halfway point, she was asking questions, and I could answer them. The moment it started getting like, I think it was like the second level in, and she was asking me questions, I was like, I just don't know. I wish I knew. She was like, so if that's this level, and they've gone to that level, and the Japanese guy has aged more than Leonardo DiCaprio, but then he got in there first, which would mean that Leonardo DiCaprio should be older because he got in there first and the Japanese guy didn't. I was like, I just don't know. Shut up.
Shut up. It's a good film.
I swear it's good. It gets great reviews on IMDb.
Because cinema.
Yeah, cinema, a thing of the past. Bye-bye, Cineworld.
Goodbye.
Although, to be fair, even pre-COVID, do you remember when we went to that Cineworld just outside Liverpool to go watch the second Lego movie? And it was just me and you in the cinema.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't even like it was like a weird day. I think it was a Saturday, wasn't it? It was a Saturday and it was like a nice enough day.
Yeah. Like, it was that thing of it was almost, if I remember correctly, it was almost like perfect cinema weather of like, it wasn't great weather, so it's the kind of day where you're like, oh, it's not great out, let's go to the cinema.
Yeah.
And then we were the only people there.
It was great, but also like a bit like, are we gonna die? Like,
because there was just like 5 staff members like all stood around the counter, and it was like, hello.
And then they all came into the cinema to clear up. There were 5 people clearing up after 2 of us. I mean,
did we even order popcorn? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I mean, it's the weird thing. Oh, dear.
Oh, man.
Good times. Well, I mean, yeah, obviously it was clear that cinema was on on the way out anyway, but...
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, it was the Lego Movie 2, and it wasn't like it was opening weekend of the Lego Movie 2.
Yeah, so... I think we were catching it just at the end of its run, so...
Yeah.
That probably makes sense.
Speaking of the end of its run, how about we get back to Saw Gerrera?
Yes!
Hey.
My man!
Thank you.
So, yeah, Charlie's question for me was, Saw Gerrera is described essentially as a terrorist. What makes him so extreme? So I thought, in order to answer this question in full depth, it'd be interesting to get a sense of his background. So Saw was born on the planet of Onderon, on the outer bit of the inner rim. Just to confuse you.
What?
Outer, inner, living la vida loca rim.
On the planet's outer inner rim.
The outer bit of the inner rim.
Oh, you know what? Keep going. I could be here all day.
So he was born on Onderon, and he grew up in the capital city of Isis. And for those who enjoy the Knights of the Old Republic series, they will know that the second game, Onderon, is one of the planets which you visit. So, in fact, Onderon had a mention in the Star Wars universe way before Saw Gerrera popped up. They just planted him in that planet because they like to include the expanded universe in a lot of They like to sort of reuse it because it's easier to reuse planets and people than it is to create anything original.
Yeah.
And also it's nice for the fans, anyone who played the series.
Yeah, I like it when they do that. Like, I like it when they drop us in somewhere and it's like, oh, it's this place, and we finally get to see it on screen and stuff, and in different ways, in different manners. It's cool. It's good. I like it.
No, it is really nice. And actually, I feel like they should have done that more with the most recent trilogy. But, we can't always get what we want.
Even in like I know we saw a lot of amazing planets and stuff, and it expanded the universe a lot. But I'm kind of still a bit annoyed that in the prequel trilogy, we didn't visit Alderaan once.
I know,
it's such a significant planet.
It feels like such a missed opportunity, because surely you'd want that planet's destruction to mean something, and to have gone to Alderaan instead. I mean, what should have happened is Padme should have been from Alderaan, and we should have gone to Alderaan instead of Naboo. Now, I like Naboo, don't get me wrong. Lovely place, but really quite pointless.
I mean, you could have had it in the original, or in the first film, that she's still from Naboo, but then in the second film, when they need to go into hiding, then they go to Alderaan, because Alderaan is not her home world.
Yeah, it makes
kind of
perfect
strange to hide someone on their home planet.
Someone's trying to hunt and kill me. Quick, let's go home.
Quick, to the garage.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. Oh, it makes no sense. But yeah, so he grew up in a city. So he's a city boy. Now, not much is known about his upbringing as a child, but there's a lot to be said about him growing up with a sister. So he had a sister called Saw Gerrera.
Mm-hmm.
And he cared for his sister a lot. They grew up together as children. It doesn't mention whether they had any parents, but I assume one could assume that they had parents, but they died, and they had to sort of. I'd probably say they grew up sort of on the streets. They seem pretty sort of hardened. So I imagine growing up in the city on the streets, doing what they need to do, would be my interpretation on it.
Lived a tough life. Went to the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have thought so. But yeah, he grew up the way he did, and he loved his planet and his king. So he absolutely cared so much for the planet that he was raised on, Onderon, and for the king at the time that he grew up, and at the time when he was doing most of his stuff in his adulthood, which was King Ramses I mean, come on, Ramses Dendup? I'm not being funny, but like Rams his end up? I mean, come on. They're being naughty. They are being naughty. That's not just
not
me.
Our fault. That's just reading it how it is.
Yeah, Rams is Dendup. I mean, I'm sorry. The Star Wars creators are just getting filthy. This is just filth.
Come on, this is a children's series. This is a saga about space wizards for children.
Exactly. Come on. We don't need to hear anything more about him, about Ramses Zendup. Yeah, so during a lot of Onderon's history, actually, they tend to stay neutral in any kind of battle or war, purely on the basis that Onderon's such a vital location for the Republic. It's right on the edge of the Inner Rim. It's a great place to protect the Republic, who is within the Inner Rim. And also it's a good place to sort of go out from there and make new connections in the universe. Yeah. So it was seen as quite a good spot. Good place to stop on any travelling, and a equally good sort of coup for any big organisation side, the Republic or whoever's on the evil side. It's normally the Republic against someone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Onderon acted as the Switzerland of Star Wars, and decided to side with no one at the time of the Clone Wars. And yeah, as I say, this is something that has historical precedent for them. They tended to stay neutral for their own benefit, actually, so they could work with both sides. And eventually, Onderon was invaded by Count Dooku and the Separatists, and a new puppet king was installed. And the old king, King Hanky Panky, was locked up. Nice, nicely done. Yeah, so he was
very good. It was getting a bit dry. Yeah,
we needed some wetness.
Yes.
So yeah, he was locked away, and Saw basically didn't like this at all. So he decided to form a resistance group on the planet to engage in a sort of civil war to win back Onderon for its people.
Nice. Good lad.
He fought with many people who wished to aid their plight, most notably Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Ahsoka Tano. So,
ooh, there's the people from the TV show.
Exactly. So harkening back to Charlie's earlier comments regarding the Clone Wars TV show, this is one of the episodes where Saw is aided by Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka Tano. But actually, interestingly, he's told after when they're really desperate for help, weirdly enough, they say that, oh no, sorry, we can't actually help you because Onderon is actually it has been fairly taken by the separatists. This is the quote that I found, which was Anakin Skywalker informed that they couldn't fight the Onderonian civil war for the Resistance. And then it goes, Onderon, after all, was legitimately aligned with the Confederacy, no matter how illegitimate Saw viewed the situation. I'm sorry, what? That's like saying, oh, Hitler invaded France. We're not going to, we're not going to try and re-invade France because, let's be honest, Hitler did legitimately take it, What does that even mean, he's legitimately aligned with the Confederacy?
Why would we help France? Hitler's their leader.
Exactly. Oh, dear. It just cracks me up, that bit. I just found that quite funny.
I love democracy.
So this is how democracy dies, with thunder's applause.
I stand by that line. That line is accurate.
That's one of the greatest lines in Star Wars, I think. Most underrated.
It's funny, but also true.
Yeah, really true, actually.
It's a searing indictment of politics, especially at how radical governments form.
Oh, dear. Cracks me up. But anyway, so going back to Saw Gerrera, so basically he fought the good fight. He was regularly known as a great military strategist, someone who could be relied upon in a battle, and was a great leader, instrumental in the fight against the separatist movement on Onderon. So he was really quite kind of instrumental in pushing the civil war, the rebellion, so to speak.
Yeah,
in Onderon. Basically, after a good long while, they won. I mean, I won't go into all of it. If you really want to know what happens in depth in every single movement that he makes, then you can go watch the Clone Wars TV show, which is really good.
If you really want to know about Saw Gerrera's movements, that's not for us to say.
What I mean is there's just so much on him in these episodes, and he does so much that it's really hard to narrow it down.
That's what I found of this appearance in the Clone Wars. It was a very significant part of Series 5 that it was in, I believe. It was a fair few episodes.
Obviously, Steela, his sister, fought with him, and they fought together. But Steela had an opinion that she had to win both the hearts and the minds of the people of Onderon to be able to fight for the people and to win them over and to be able to win this civil war in Onderon.
Yeah.
But Saw didn't really understand that. He really just saw the aspect of, we got to win this battle. I got to do what I got to do to basically put my beloved king back on the throne. So this was before anything really heavy happened. He was of the opinion of, we can't mess around. We've just got to do what we feel is right rather than try and do any kind of compromise between beliefs.
Yeah.
So he was a very strong character anyway, even before we got down later. But yeah, so he eventually defeated the Separatists. But before, he was actually captured and tortured, like you say. And it didn't really...
I don't know why I laughed. That's not funny. I think I've developed a nervous laugh in these trying times of just whenever something's not funny, I just have to laugh.
I know, it's just I gotta let out that stress.
Oh God, that's terrible.
He died. So anyway, so he was tortured. Eventually, he was broken free by his team, his reliable team, because he went in to try and basically save the king. The king said, "Yeah, okay, I'll come with you." Came with them, and basically they strategized an attack. Anakin Skywalker helped them from behind the scenes, and they were able to basically overthrow the puppet king, who I believe was assassinated by Dooku before they got there. So kind of like we don't want to leave
the
you.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, and he was able to win over the general of the Onderonian people. So he decided to join Saw's cause. So that was another win for him. And then...
Winner.
Yeah, so... and then basically he had the old king reinstated. And basically things went back to normal, except during that last fight, his sister was murdered, was killed in battle. And Saw... Basically, he lost it. He wasn't happy at all. He loved his sister. He thought she was just a wonderful person, and that really crushed him.
That's a real shame.
But he continued as the leader, and obviously became more bitter and wouldn't mess around. Like if he saw a chance to do something, he'd do it. He would cut corners in regards to people's safety. He'd just do anything. Like we mentioned earlier, he'd give his leg for. He was
the kind of guy who always gave 110%.
Yeah, exactly. He was a giver. He was a go-getter,
He was the kind of person who would post on Instagram no days off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
7-day week, baby. So yeah. So anyway, so that was his story, and that kind of ended there. And then he was still sort of doing stuff as the group of the partisans on Onderon, trying to still fight the good fight. And then during the Age of the Empire, Saw fought against the Empire, leading a group known as the Partisans. So in the series, I believe it's called Rebels, there's an agent called Agent Callus who leads a special branch, like basically the Secret Service of the Empire. They basically invade Onderon with a little platoon in order to bring about peace.
Okay.
Basically, he ends up wiping out an entire platoon. So this guy doesn't mess around. He does not fuck about.
No.
He just basically told them to fuck off. Leave my planet alone, you filthy bastards.
Would you please just... No.
Stay away.
Stop it. You're being really annoying.
I said no the first time, but now you're back. What the hell is happening? And yeah, as we mentioned in the last episodes, after he fought the Empire and he moved around a bit, he decided to help the Ursos escape from Coruscant. So basically what happened was there was an external channel. Galen sent out a message. Saw was able to pick it up, just being like, I need to get out by any means. I think he was linked to someone through some back alley on Coruscant. And anyway, so Saw was able to free them from Coruscant and find them a little hut on a farming planet, which Saw did. And then since then was a close friend and protector of the Ursos.
Yeah.
So they freed them from the Empire's clutches, basically. And so that bit of history ties us nicely back into the main bit of your question, which is what after 10 years we've come back.
Do you remember when we asked a question? Well, now it's 10 years later.
Do you remember that? Really? Do you? It's been a long while, but we hope we've kept you here. I know it's 2022
even the same
now.
episode anymore?
Yeah. Oh, dear. But anyway, so back to the question, what makes him so extreme? Well, after many more missions and run-ins with the Empire, Saw basically saw more and more loss, and he'd link it to his sister, he'd link it to the tragedy on Onderon, and he became more and more paranoid. So his paranoia actually feeding into his radicalism, wanting to basically do whatever it took to make sure that wouldn't happen again. He was so adamant that he had to stop it. If he could stop that one thing causing all this problem, the collateral damage didn't even matter. If he could stop that, he'd save way more than he'd lose for cutting corners.
Yeah.
So he feeling like the rebellion was doing less and less, he became disillusioned with the Alliance and cut ties. So he did try and align himself with the Alliance a bit, but it was kind of in and out. It wasn't really a fixed arrangement. He was still his own thing, which is why they're called the Partisans. They do what they will. And he became disillusioned with the Alliance and cut all ties, looking to front a more action-based progressive agenda. So he wanted to just do rather than sit around in a council and be like, oh, should we, shouldn't we? I don't know. Oh, what do you think?
We here at the Partisans, we're doers. We're not don'ters. We're not naysayers. We're just doers.
Exactly.
I don't think, I just do.
Exactly, no messing around. He got right in there. He did not want to get involved in any of the bureaucratic bullshit that was going on in the rebellion.
Put your gloves on and just grab a shovel. You know, we're gonna start just shoveling the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like he just doesn't like losing control. So the idea of working in a council doesn't work for him. He wants to do what he wants to do at that moment because he believes it's going to work. He has no concept of actually considering any kind of compromise for the greater good.
He's not a delegator, put it that way.
Oh, exactly. He was definitely known as a great military tactician who, on, really poor odds, could probably come out on top in a battle. If he was outnumbered, he could arrange it so that he could win type thing. He was very, very good. But he had no care for the ethical concerns or well-being of really anyone, and was willing to do anything to bring down his enemies. So he tortured prisoners and treated civilians as collateral damage. So it kind of harkens to the Empire in a kind of... It's kind of mirroring the Empire, his kind of organisation, which I think is really, it sort of muddies the waters. That's why I like Rogue One so much. That's why I like Saw Gerrera so much, because, he's fighting on a different side, but he's going about it in the same way. He's got, he's willing to risk everything and put everything on the line and not care about anything in terms of collateral damage to get his views across. And that is similar to the Empire.
I think I found a quote of, I don't know if I've said this to you before, but the filmmakers of Rogue One essentially said they wanted to move away from the idea of, when you think of Star Wars, it was the heroes wore white and the bad guys wore black. And they wanted to make a film, as they described it, where everyone wore grey.
Yeah, it was grey. Actually, the only person that wore white was director Krennic, who was
and he was the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it so much. That was so good.
Oh, but we do love Krennic.
Yeah.
Here at How Uncivilized, we do love and support our Krennic boy.
That we do. Do you know what? I kind of like Krennic. I think he's a really good character.
He's a great character. Terrible human being, but, great character.
Exactly. So that's pretty much my understanding and what I've gathered and the information of why he's so extreme. Basically, nice. The way he was raised, the heartbreak and the paranoia after that just fed into that. The older he got, the more, radical he became.
Yeah, man. Heavy stuff indeed.
Yeah, very heavy stuff. Very heavy stuff.
Yes.
But we love it. We love it.
We love it. If it wasn't heavy, it wouldn't be worth lifting? I don't know.
That feels right. Let's add that as the title to our podcast.
We don't talk about Rogue One because it's easy. We talk about Rogue One because it's hard.
Exactly. That's what we do here at How Uncivilized. We stretch the bounds. We talk about crazy things that you can barely find and understand.
We give you a stepladder so you can see a little bit more over that horizon.
Thanks for listening to episode 5. If you like what you're hearing, remember, Series 1 is available now on any streaming service. Or, if you'd like something different, check out our playthrough series on YouTube. Next time, we complete our journey into Saw Gerrera's troubled past. Watch this space, if you'll pardon the pun.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit if you're looking for media of the social variety. You can get in contact with us via any of these platforms. We're also on YouTube, where you can find our playthrough of LEGO Star Wars, as well as all of our previous podcast episodes. The How Uncivilized Podcast was produced, created, and edited by Charlie Ramses Dendup Feasby and Spencer Ramses Endup Lawrence.